Welcome back to Fan Talk, and it is Thursday. Is it Thursday?
It is Thursday.
It's Throwback Thursday. Simon, your Throwback Thursday film. What are you going to do for us today?
I'm going to talk about the movie The Saint, 1997, starring Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer's The Saint.
Yeah, I might laugh a little bit here and there, but it wasn't, actually, it made money. It wasn't terribly reviewed. It just wasn't a massive hit either.
Yeah, it reminded me of a lot of some films kind of came out around that. I call them that genre of and that era of films, like movies like Ronin and
even The Paycheck with Ben Affleck.
It's like these films that came out. They weren't bad. They weren't great.
They weren't blockbusters.
They weren't blockbusters. They were successful. They made money, but they didn't like make a lot of waves.
Right. And I chose this one not just because of that one movie in particular, just because of the IP in general, which I'm actually a big fan of. That movie starred. Let's talk about that movie for a second, and I'll branch out to the other IP stuff. That starred Val Kilmer, Elizabeth Shue, and the Russian guy that is in all the movies playing the Russian, Rade Serbedija. Actually, he's Serbian, not Russian.
He's Serbian, yeah.
Right, but he's always plays that character.
Yeah, he always plays like the long-haired bad guy Russian. Yeah.
And made for $68 million and got a return on $169 million on box office for the worldwide, and also made another, and this is interesting too, I found another $28 million on DVD sales and rentals. Rotten Tomatoes is 30, which not that great, but I think it has a solid bit of audience here and there, though. And as I said, it had good reviews coming out. Made by Paramount. The basic story is of Simon Templar, basically a private spy for hire and master of disguises, comes across his plan for cold fusion, an attempted coup of the Russian government, and he ends up having to steal the formula for cold fusion from a scientist, and was hired by the Russians, and then he has to kind of do one over on them and stop them from winning the day and make out with some money and the girl. Yeah. And basically that kind of movie.
Yeah, that kind
basically,
of movie.
And if it sounds kind of like a Bondish kind of like a plot to some degree, you wouldn't be too wrong. The Simon Templar, the Saint series, it predates Bond. Mm-hmm. And it's been said that the Bond draws heavily off of the Saint as far as literary beginnings. Because The Saint started off as a book series in 1928 by Leslie Charteris. He wrote from over 50 books from 1928 to 1983. There was a series of 9 movies originally by RKO Pictures back from 1938 to 1954. There's the famous Roger Moore TV show out of England in the 60s. There's another 70s show. There was another, not that 70s show, another 70s show.
Another 70s version.
There's a radio series. There's been comic books. There's a TV 2017 TV movie recently came out in England. Mm-hmm. So this has gone on. This has been around for about 100 years now. Yeah. And a lot of the spy genre gets its influences from this character in these original books. Because they kind of set up a lot of the qualities of the main character. Because the main character of Simon Templar, British, not Val Kilmer's, but the other versions have been British, leaves a calling card. He has that kind of like very easy charm, humor, charisma. He's kind of like a modern day Robin Hood. He's a very good detective, very good at disguises, kind of blending in and getting the answers that he needs. A lot like a lot of those things share a lot in common with Bond. Mm-hmm. Also, Simon Templar does a calling card, and he collects a 10% fee is his trademark from the things that he solves. Like when he collects the money, 10% fee for his expenses, and he returns the rest to either the victims or to the families or charities, which is part of how he gets the nickname as the Saint. Ironically, the Roger Moore 60s one, Roger Moore himself actually wanted to do a new movie in the 80s and was looking at a relative unknown at the time, Pierce Brosnan, to become the Saint. Yeah. Ironically, he ended up instead becoming Bond.
Becoming Bond, yes.
Paramount got the rights. They went through a few names that all declined this role for various reasons. Hugh Grant, Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Christian Slater, George Clooney, Kevin Costner, Johnny Depp, and Daniel Day-Lewis all turned down before Val Kilmer said, actually, I'm going to quit Batman and go do this instead. That's why we didn't get Val Kilmer back for Batman 4, because he wanted to do this. He actually pressed for more disguises in the movie. He thought, like this would just be like a guy that's all constantly changing disguises. Paramount pulled him back because they wanted the disguise shtick to be part of their Mission Impossible series. Yeah. But he still ended up doing about 12 various disguises, and he actually was credited with doing good accents for those different disguises as well. It wasn't just like canned generic accents that you always hear. In the original version of the movie, Elizabeth Shue's character Emma dies, and a completely different ending. They ended up reshooting that, adding the Oxford epilogue scenes, and releasing it as we saw. And they've actually never put out the original version, which I think might be kind of interesting to see now that I hear about it. And there's also a big fight between the Saint and also the Russian son as well.
Yeah.
Which they cut out. Soundtrack was actually a big thing back then. Heavy on the electronica. Snicker Pimps, Orbital, Moby, Chemical Brothers, Underworld, Daft Punk, and the soundtrack combined with the topic of cold fusion did kind of give it a slightly futuristic feel, even though the politics of Russian oligarchs and overthrowing a weak Russian government had a very 90s feel to it.
Yeah.
Right now they're talking about a reboot with Chris Pratt as Simon Templar. And that's still in the talk, so.
Yeah, and I think that he would make a good Simon Templar. That'd be a good flick.
Yeah,
this honestly too, you could say this was maybe the end of the heyday of Val Kilmer, because after The Saint was really when we kind of quit seeing him do a lot of films.
Yeah, because this was after successful. After also that one with him in Africa with the Lions.
Mm-hmm. That was called. Ghost in the Darkness.
Yeah, that very good movie. And actually, that was made right before The Saint, and he was on the set of Ghost in the Darkness practicing his disguises and accents in his off time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was kind of the...
That was kind of the heyday of Val Kilmer, like after his...
Tombstone.
Yeah, Tombstone, all that. And then after that, we just really didn't see him in much until...
Island Dr. Monroe.
Yeah.
But
Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yeah, and then also coming soon, Top Gun 2.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he probably won't be another fighter pilot.
No.
And hopefully we don't have a topless volleyball scene with him. You never know, but probably not. Anyway, that's my Throwback Thursday. Just a little gem from 1997 that, as I said, I liked more in addition just to the movie itself, which is fun. There's nothing... Yeah, there's always something criticized about movies, but it has some issues here and there, obviously, but just for being a movie by itself, it's fun, it's entertaining, the performances are good, but it's the IP and the kind of the world it came from is what I've been a big fan of. I've actually seen all the old RKO picture movies and some of the original
well, I remember when we lived together years ago, you had the old black and whites, and I remember coming home from Blockbuster and you were sitting in the living room watching them. It was like what the heck are you watching?
Like in 1938.
That's not Clerks.
Yeah. 1938, and those movies weren't like high production values even for the time.
Yeah.
Those were just like, hey, let's get a camera and record this. Hey, look, we can edit the sound and sync it up. All right, well, thanks for watching. Check us back for another Throwback Thursday, and please remember to like and subscribe.